Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another live edition of the broadcast, Thursday night edition of the show. Into Friday, January 19th, 2012, into January 20th, 2012. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. Yeah, we got a bunch of news and information to get into for you here tonight, as well as our continued series of reading of Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days. Yes, yes.
The end of days, motherfucker. We're going to see the seven angels and the evil horsemen of the apocalypse come down, yes.
Well, yeah, that's what they tell us, right? Oh, yeah. So you shitting yourselves with fear yet out there? We're balls deep in 2012 now. We'll, continue to monitor what's going on and continue to be watching out. I mean, we're here. We're in this time now. Any and every day there could be events popping up and popping out. So it's definitely getting interesting. We can attest to that. My website where this broadcast originates from, theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. You'll find the stream link there to listen to the show live or listen to the archive shows. You'll find archives up there, my documentaries, chat room, all kinds of stuff. Theglobalreality.com. Lots of news as well. A lot of the news we talk about here on the show gets posted up there, so it's a good place to go and check. If you hear an article talked about on the show or something, you want to find that yourself, you can always go to theglobalreality.com and find it on the news section there as well. Secret Right Volume 2, DVD and Blu-ray is out now. You can get it up there at my website. It's now available. We're currently caught up in our shipping, so we've been hearing from a lot of people this week have been getting their DVDs, their Blu-rays, and everybody's been really really kind of blown away by it, by a lot of comments. That's what people have been saying. It's not me saying that. That's what people have been saying. So that's awesome. I'm glad that people have been blown away by it, and that people also have enjoyed my humor and some of the funny bits I've put in there. I mean, if you don't laugh your ass off, I mean, I make Jones look even more retarded than he already makes himself look. And I'm only using his stuff to do it. That's what's funny. But I do have a couple of moments in there like that because I think it's good to have some comic relief and keep it mixed up. But DVDs and Blu-ray, Secret Volume 2, you can get research packs, all that kind of stuff up there, double packs, Blu-ray, DVD, and definitely go there and get those. And we also have our 2012 kickoff fundraiser going on right now at theglobalreality.com. We have the achievement banner up there, and to help us meet the goal so we can have a little to operate on going into 2012, other than just, paying the bills and then, okay, so first of the month we have $0 in our bank account. We have lots of stuff to do right now for our next projects I'm working on here with the next film, and that's going to require some traveling to go out and shoot footage and to have expenses for all that. So that is what we're working on. And yes, we will have, people asked, we will have I will put up a achievement banner eventually. It'll just be up for a while. It'll be just for the film separately from what we do everything else during the month for operating costs and all that. And but I didn't want to do that yet until after we had our 2012 kickoff. So I will have that up there eventually. So there you go. But yeah, it's been phenomenal. The response everybody's given from the film, and to hear from people who actually research and do their own research and stuff, and to hear people say that there were some things in there they didn't know. That's always good. If there's, to me, if you watch a documentary and there's, if you're somebody who's doing if you're somebody who does a lot of research and already knows about these topics, then, sometimes when you, just about any documentary there is, if you watch it, most of the time you're already going to be aware of the information. But I think when you watch something, there's 3 or 4 things in it that you didn't know about, that's pretty good. If you're a more astute researcher, there's 1 or 2 things, that's pretty good. As long as there's at least 1 or 2 things in there that you didn't already know. But in a lot of cases, and at least in the case of our listeners and a lot of people who've got DVDs and Blu-rays so far, people have said, they've just been blown away by the things that they didn't know in the film. That's the same thing with me. I mean, you got to understand a lot of the stuff that's in the film, I didn't know about either until I was researching and working on the film itself. And so, I think the film definitely has more focus than some of my other work, just because I changed it and changed how it was going to be so many times. Because, to me, you have to have what it is you're trying to say and the point you're trying to get across, and you need to try and do that in, the most reasonable window you can get it done in. That's my take. Some people don't do it that way. Lee Rogers prefers to make his movie, 5 or 6 hours long. I guess you do away with having to worry about making multiple volumes when you do that, and it is probably a lot more efficient. But man, it's just, for me, I just feel I don't feel right making people dedicate that much of their time to watching a movie. I would rather you spend that time, I'd rather not tell you everything and leave some stuff out, and I'd rather you spend that extra 3 hours researching stuff on your own, and getting those aha moments for yourself. Instead of me, making a 6-hour film or something and trying to put every little nook and cranny and thing in there. Because, if people don't take responsibility for their own research, man, then I'm not doing anyone any more of a service than I would be by not doing it at all. Because the whole point of this is that you want to find this stuff out for yourself. So I hope that when you watch The Secret Right Volume 2, I hope that, or Volume 1, either one of those, but specifically after you watch Volume 1 and Volume 2, I hope that you don't think that by any way, shape, or form, or at all, that either one of those films encompass all there is to know about these subjects. That's why I always say in each one of them, it is vitally important for all of you to do your own digging and write down those names, man. I mean, especially Secret Volume 2, a lot of the names in there, just kind of blow by really fast, specifically in like the Kennedy part, around that part of it. There's a lot of names in there, man, that have a lot of rabbit trails connected to them that you need to write down and really go and look up these names on your own. Look what else these guys have been connected to. Because when you do, you're going to be like, holy shit. And I like that. To me, that's kind of a whole other element of my films, is that there is that, is that I lay foreground and I lay things out and I'll show you how these things piece together. But it's like a bonus, because if you watch my film and there's stuff in there you had never heard about before, and you hear about it and you're like, wow, I hadn't heard about that. You'll research and look it up. You start finding all these other things. You're like, oh my God. But see, that was initiated by the fact that you watched that film. Had I not made that film and had you not watched it, you wouldn't have went on these research tangents. You wouldn't have went and found all these other awesome, insane, crazy connections that make the whole thing piece together better and give you a better understanding of it. Because that's what more knowledge and more information does. That's why you don't stop digging, you don't stop researching, because the more that you know, there's never a ceiling to how much you can know. But every time you gain more knowledge, you gain more of a verification of your previous research, or sometimes a nullification of your previous research. That happens to me a lot. I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's like we had a listener the other night who was bringing up a show I did in 2008 where I was saying some positive things about Anthony J. Hilder, and asking, well, I heard you on Lee Rogers' show and said, what has changed, And that person sent me a very nice email back saying that they were, that was also the guy that asked about Tool as well. Which, by the way, one of our listeners had offered to take me to the Tool concert with them tomorrow. Now, how crazy is that in Dallas? But you know what? I think I'm actually going to decline because, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm just kind of a weirdo. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to go. I wish I could go. I saw them a bunch of times back in the 90s and stuff. But the thing is, I wasn't as into them then as I was now. That's what sucks. I saw them a bunch of times back in the day, like, heyday of Tool, and I wasn't as much into them as I am now. But I'm just kind of a weirdo, and I kind of don't like going places and riding with people that I don't really know, and stuff like that. I'm just kind of weird like that. So I gotta decline on the offer there to go to the Tool concert. I would love to fucking go, believe me. Really want to see. They're playing two sold out shows in Dallas this weekend, and. But yeah, I think I'm going to decline on that. I'm just a weirdo, and I don't like going places because you don't know me, I don't know you, and I don't know. It kind of seemed like it might be, an uncomfortable situation. But what was I saying a minute ago? Anyway, I had a point about something. I can't remember what that was. I always get sidetracked to get on these tangents and go off about different things. But anyway, in the Cigarette Volume, that's the thing about Cigarette Volume 2 is, I like to make things where, you have those same kind of moments of finding the things, and it's all relevant to your perception. A lot of people, I have people sometimes that are interested in my movies, people that I know, here in my area where I live and stuff. And I have people that are interested in my movies and stuff because they know me. And they want to see, they want to see what I'm working on. And, but sometimes those people aren't necessarily people that are into the whole research community thing, or they're not really aware of all the, you know what I mean? They don't know Anthony J. Hilder from Walter Cronkite. You know what I mean? So, when you're telling somebody, or, that this person is involved with these groups or whatever, they don't see the relevance of it. They don't see, because, it's okay. They're like, okay, well, so what? What's your point, Josh? So what if this person, blah, blah, this, that, and the other? And so they don't understand that, they don't know who Alex Jones is and stuff like that. And so, that's the other thing about my films. It's like, if you don't really know about this type of stuff already, and that's kind of how my show is too, you're not really going to enjoy it. Because see, I don't sit around here on my show and spend all day. I don't want to sit here and go over things I've gone over before. People say, "Oh man, I heard you do a show about this back in 2008. Why don't you talk about that again?" And I'll say, "Well, my answer is right what you just said. I did a show about that in 2008. I'm not going to do a show about that in 2012." My thing is, it's just the way my brain works. I can't explain it. It's not something I'm consciously really trying to do. It's just the way my brain works. Now, there are things I've gone back and repeated. I've gone over again. I've done those, willingly and intently. But it's just hard for me to go back and rehash and recover things. And so I don't waste time going through, okay, this is, boys and girls, this is New World Order 101, I sort of come from the standpoint that you're already at an advanced level if you're finding my show, which isn't always the case. It is the case a lot of times, but it isn't always the case. And when we get people that come on sometimes that are total fucking noobs, wet behind the ear, don't know anything. And when it's the same type of thing, when they start hearing me talk about certain things, saying things a certain way, they're like, well, so what? They can't see the relevance because they don't have all of the rest of the information. And so that's one of the things why I always tell people, look, go watch volume 1 and go listen to some of these shows and go listen to this, that. And they're like, well, I don't want to do that. I just want to watch your movie. And I'm like, well, I understand that, but you're really not going to get it or really understand why you should even care about this if you aren't aware of some of these other things, like, at least being aware of the truth movement and being aware of, the Patriot movement and Alex Jones and that. And some people are and some people aren't. There are some people who know who Alex Jones is who don't know, any of the other things. But what I'm finding more and more is that people, and that was kind of my thing always about Jones too. As soon as you hear somebody say, call themselves a paleo conservative or a right winger and talk all these right wing, Christian things, but yet talk about truth and talk about research and talk about this, that, and the other. I always wondered about it. I mean, how could somebody who called themselves a researcher still call themselves a Christian or still call themselves this? I mean, because my God, if you haven't come, that's what I thought about for the longest time. I thought maybe Alex Jones hadn't figured that out. That's not the case. He hasn't not just figured it out. But he tries to act like, oh, that's really not a big part of it. And anybody who tries to tell you that the world religious power structure doesn't run the whole show worldwide is lying to you. And that's what the Sumerian text, and that's what reading like the Zachariah Sitchin stuff tells us. You see that because people forget that there didn't used to be senators and congressmen and lords and, all this stuff. That wasn't the structure of government. It was priests. The ones who had been chosen by the gods to tell these stories and these lessons and these various things that were based on the worship of them. The people who prop themselves up as gods. And that's what's, that's what we start to learn more and more, is that the people who presented themselves as gods to people on this planet were no more gods or were as much of gods as gods as you and I are. They were just people. But they were people who had a knowledge, a very advanced knowledge. And when you have people that are way less advanced than you and way less knowledgeable than you, you then have the perfect opportunity to, depending on, the extremity and the size of the space between the people who have knowledge and the people that don't. In this case, we're talking about a huge gap. Then the bigger the gap, the more power that person has to wield over people. So it's very easy to set yourself up as a god. My cat thinks I'm a fucking god because I walk around and I talk and I put food in his bowl and shit. That's the whole thing. That's what these religions were started from. And the perpetrators of modern day religion want you to forget all that and want you to forget that what you're being told to worship, and that's the one thing with religion. You always ought to run from anything that tells you should worship it, because the source of divine energy that exists within all of us, it goes against the principle of the whole thing that it would want to be worshipped or glorified by anything. Those things only come from men. Men want to be glorified. Men want to be worshipped. And the entire religious structure, no matter what religion it may be, that glorifies this worship is doing so through this ignorance of the real truth by transplanting the fact that it's the worship of a man and a person who's very much like you and I, to the glorification, deification, and praise and worship of either someone who was here, but who we were telling you was the Son of God. Now they're dead. They're not here anymore. And they can't speak for themselves. Or for someone who you're never going to see and never could see and wasn't ever here at all, because they're this guy in the white puffy clouds with a beard. Right. And look, the bottom line of it is, Alex Jones or anybody else can sit there all day long and talk all this stuff about this religion or that religion, or I'm not one of those phony Christians. I'm one of the real Christians. Jones always tries to pull that. Well, I'm not one of those. Those are the fake right-wingers. Me and Ron Paul are with the real right-wingers. You want to be with us. It's such horseshit. Such third-grade schoolyard bullshit that he thinks it works on people's minds, and it does work on some people's minds. But the fact of the matter is, they are doing this continuation of this phony worship, trying to get us to worship those people who at once were living gods on this planet. And I'm not anybody's property. I don't know about you. And anything that threatens me. You ever see that Star Trek movie? I think it was I don't remember which one it was. The Final Frontier, one of those like that, where they go out, Spock's brother hijacks the ship and they go out looking for God, and they go out to this thing that they say is God, and it's like a disembodied entity that wants to take over their starship. And Captain Kirk says, what does God need with a starship? It's the same kind of thing. Anything that tells you, worship me or I'm going to kill you, threats, or, do as I say and follow my rules. Otherwise, eternal damnation and hellfire. You got to be suspicious of that. Because to be into the year 2012 and to look at something like that and not beyond any shadow of a doubt believe that there's somebody there controlling things and trying to control you and control things. Come on. There's just no doubt about it. That threat, that threatening stuff. And that's, look, that's why it's the same thing with why they're trying to push all this Civil War stuff into a head. And why they've been trying to bring about all this anti-gun legislation and all this stuff for years. Because it's the same old thing. You tell somebody they can't have something, you make something taboo. As soon as you make something taboo, humans have this innate, and they manipulate this in any and every way they can. And this, to me, I believe this is something that goes back to that Anunnaki, something that was very inherent to their people, that's transferred over to us, and it's in each and every one of us, and it's very easy to manipulate. Because, as soon as you make something taboo, it was almost as if that was already, to me, when you read the stuff about Enki, making these creations and doing it from a real scientific standpoint and being very studious and very to the point on his creation, but then also you see this weaker side of him, just like you see in us, in men here on earth in this day. You have guys who are scientists and who are very astute guys now, and and who are just brilliant geniuses, but they have a vice. They like to go to Thailand and have sex with a 12-year-old. That's just part of the thing. And as soon as you make something taboo and say, oh, you can't do that, it's just this innate natural thing in us where it makes us want to do it. And the controllers have known about this for a very long time, and they've been manipulating that for time immemorial. I mean, God, the Bible, it's full of it. All religious texts are full of it. But that's how they've been corrupting everything, is by trying to put this bullshit prohibition on things, because they know that it inherently makes people want to have it or do it. And Inky was, he was a very astute guy. He's creating these creations, but at the end of the day, it turns out these creations are pretty goddamn hot. Had some nice vaginas, and he wanted to get his dick wet. But ultimately, that's what ended up causing problems. But it was because it was the forbidden fruit, and that's been with us. That whole forbidden fruit thing has never gone away. Well, look what happened in this country, in the United States, during Prohibition, when they started, making alcohol legal. What happened? Alcoholism shot through the roof. More people drinking than there ever was when it was legal. Why? Because you make it legal and you make it readily available and demystifies it. People don't want it anymore. But as soon as something becomes illegal and criminalized, then it's taboo, and then it's, you just inherently make people want more. Well, that's what they're going to do with guns. That's what this whole gun bullshit is about. They're not trying to bring about anti-gun laws to make it safer. Don't for a second. I don't care who you are, and I don't care whether you like me or not, or believe anything or agree with anything that I say. But you better understand this, and you better know that I'm right on this. It is not getting rid of guns and gun safety and all that, and outlawing guns, and that is not going to keep us safer. In fact, it is going to make the violence 100 times worse. Why? Because if you make something illegal, you make people want it even worse. And that's what they're going to do with guns. Why? Because the weapons manufacturers can make a fuck ton more money off weapons, ladies and gentlemen, if they're illegal. That's what I mean. And look, God bless them. I got a bunch of friends, and, I got a bunch of people that are gun nuts. And I wish to fucking Christ, and you know who you are out there if you happen to hear this broadcast, I wish to Christ you people that I know that like guns would understand that. I understand, you love your guns and you're against all this anti-gun stuff, but you have to understand that the only reason they're not doing it because they're just the pinko commies. I hate them guns. No, they want to make it worse. It's so the weapons manufacturers, and people think, oh no, the gun manufacturers aren't doing this, aren't causing. They can't wrap their mind around the fact that the gun manufacturers are the ones who are pushing and lobbying for gun control. Why? Why would it be that the weapons manufacturers would lobby millions of dollars for gun control? That doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to outlaw their product? Because, you dumb shits, they make more money off of it if it's illegal. The price of a Glock handgun would triple. Little piece of shit Glock that'll probably jam up on you before you can get 3 or 4 shots out of it anyway. They will go for triple what they're going for right now on the black market if guns were illegal tomorrow. And that's what they want. Because then you get more violence. You don't get less violence, and you get more weapons because it's mystified. Then it's taboo. And that's, you just know that's something that just is inherent in all of us. And it's so old and so there, and they just manipulate that constantly. And I think that if people could ever really realize that and understand how they are manipulated in that way, and I mean everybody worldwide realize that, we wouldn't be taken for a ride. So people would eventually stand up and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to be manipulated like that again. You're just trying to do this, make this illegal so that people will want to do it even more. And that, my friends, is one of the main origins of control. Plain and simple. Oh, let's see if I have any news items to get into here tonight. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be taping my next 2-hour installment for Red Ice Radio. That's going to be taping that on February 8th. So probably a couple weeks after that, it'll air. So yeah, so coming up in February will be my return to Red Ice Radio for 2 hours, talk about Seawright Volume 2, and I'll be taping that on February 8th. That should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And thanks to Lana over there at Red Ice Radio for inviting me back. Thanks to Henrik Palmgren over there as well, and I'll be sending them a copy of the DVD so they can watch that before I go on. So super excited about that. We had a good response last time, and last time I felt like I didn't really get to even scratch the tip of the iceberg. So this time I'm gonna have it mapped. Man, I'm gonna have like a bunch of stuff I want to hit. I'm gonna have it all laid out, and should be a pretty jam-packed show. Pretty excited about that. Oh, let's see. Huh. I already read that one. No, I guess I don't have. I thought I had some emails. No, I don't. But we do have a lot of news, so we'll get into that right now. Oh, did you guys hear about this? This was rich. A billionaire history buff has stepped forward to donate the $7.5 million matching gift that's needed to start repairing cracks near the top of the Washington Monument from last summer's East Coast earthquake. Businessman David Rubenstein, a member of the Carlyle Group. Oh, really? Oh, my God. This guy, man, you could tell this guy's used the Masonic nut rag of Jobulon to wipe the baby batter off his chin more times than Neil Armstrong, probably. So this, this guy, total Freemason. He's a member of the Carlyle Group. So mote it be, brother. So mote it be. He's out of the kindness of his heart is paying out of his own pocket to fix. I mean, these guys, this is just so fucking fun. These guys can't stand for their, giant Osiris cock to not be, perfectly erect. So this guy's paying for a $7.5 million dose of Viagra for the Washington Monument, which, by the way, is 666 feet in total length, including the anchor at below ground. Businessman David Rubenstein told the Associated Press he was inspired to help fund the repairs to the 555-foot obelisk when it became clear how severely damaged it was by a 5.8 magnitude quake on August 23rd. The monument received about 1 million visitors a year before the famous landmark was closed to the public after the quake. The Park Service hopes to have a contractor begin work by the end of August. I knew that wouldn't get to be. They're like, oh, they're just going to close it. It's not going to be able to be fixed. Yeah. Come on. It's just funny. Yeah. Rubenstein. Look at that guy. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Yeah. I just think it's funny. That's what these guys have to spend their money on. I have to make sure that Osiris cock is back erect again. My God, that's, because that's why these guys draw power from this, or they think they do. That's heaven forbid their giant cock be, have a lilt in it. Let's see here. Man, I don't even know what to say about this. The stuff that I've been laughing my ass off, man, at just the stuff that's been directed at the Ron Paul followers, the Ron Paul Kool-Aid drinkers. You guys, seriously, can you guys not see what they're trying to? They're just trying to do everything they can to piss those people off. It's worse than I do. I don't even try to piss them off. I'm just, they hate me because I'm telling the truth. They hate me because I don't worship Ron Paul, and I think he's, I think he is a white supremacist. I don't believe what the media says, and I don't believe what they try to tout out about any of that horse shit. I base what I believe on on my own research and his connections to people. It's just on no question about it. Ron Paul's connected to white supremacists and white nationalist groups. There's no question. But they tout this stuff, and they push this stuff just to piss off and they want the Ron Paul culties to be enraged. That's what they want. They ran that thing about the prostitutes. They tried to do it last time too. Hookers for Ron Paul and they did that again this go round. They said prostitutes are raising money for Ron Paul, and then all the Ron Paul culties said, "Oh, that's a lie. They're not really doing it. They're just making that up, and they're trying to make him look bad." If you go and look, there are lots of groups who have prostitutes or lots of presidential candidates that tap. It's not the first time. But this one, I just love it because they just get so angry. Muslims say Ron Paul is their kind of Republican. Oh, man, that is rich. I guess what they're saying now is that if, obviously you wouldn't want to vote for Ron Paul because, hey, the Muslims like him, right? So that should be a big enough reason for any self-respecting right-wing Republican to denounce Ron Paul and withdraw support because, my God, I mean, we can't do anything that would be in line with the Muslims now, can we? I mean, they're the living devils here on earth, according to the right-wingers. I mean, this shit is just so funny to watch, man. And I don't know what's funnier, the stuff that they do or the reaction to what they do from the Ron Paul flunkies. And what's funny about it is that they seem to have, think that they have a bulletproof explanation to explain away. I think they really think Ron Paul is completely can do no wrong. He's not a god, folks. At every single thing, no matter what it is, no matter how dead solid it is, they find some way to, that's just a lefty liberal commie media. But I don't believe in the left-right paradigm. That's what Jones says all day long. The guy's full of shit. Anybody, if you think for a second, look, Alex Jones says he doesn't believe in the left-right paradigm. He's a fucking liar. Liar. You are a goddamn liar, Mr. Jones. I don't believe, if you didn't believe in left-right paradigm, you wouldn't be supporting any of these candidates. Ron Paul or any of these other political clowns you've had on your show through the years. You wouldn't have worked. People who don't support and don't believe in the left-right paradigm don't work for presidential campaigns like Pat Buchanan, Mr. Jones. So go sell that shit somewhere else. See, that's another thing he does because he poisons the well for people like me and you and other people who really, really don't believe in the false left-right paradigm, who really don't support that voting system at all and don't even believe you should even go participate in that at all because you're verifying to them that their system is still okay for you. But he is the biggest goddamn liar to say that he doesn't support the false left-right paradigm, but yet, support everything that I do is right-wing. But I'm for the good right-wingers, not the phony right-wingers. Yeah. Me and Ron Paul are going to kick some ass, take over this town.
Suck, Satan's cock, Jones. Oh, I've been missing you, Mr. Jones. You gotta come back and see Daddy and give me some more of that sweet sugar. Start calling you Gums like I call Bush. Old Gums Bush. Yes.
Oh, man. Oh, here's another great one for you. You guys will love this. It's from the Daily Mail. This is another one. Most Britons descended from male farmers who left Iraq and Syria 10,000 years ago and were seduced by the local hunter-gatherer women. Right, that's just like Enki, man, going around getting his dick wet, pouring his fucking seed and everything without a wet hole, open hole. Pouring it by the beer pitcher gallon. Most Britons are direct descendants of farmers who left modern-day Iraq and Syria 10,000 years ago. A new study has shown, yeah. So the Anunnaki's creation spread and started going around to other places and knocking people up there and, was it Bill Hicks? I don't know if it was Bill Hicks or Carlin or one of them who, how do we know people, that we're doing, how do we know people were fucking somebody was fucking, you know? Somebody's been fucking. How do you know? We're here. And yeah. Our whole society is based on fucking. People went around to different areas and fucked over here and fucked over there. And then there was, all of a sudden there was a bunch of people there. And so before long, you had more people there. And people over here and people over there. And people would go to different areas just to find new things to put their dick in. And according to the Sumerian text, that's what Enki was doing too. So no wonder we all wanted to do that. They made us in their image. And notice that in the biblical text, it does say their image. Plural, multiples, not one. And so, yeah, made in their image. So we turned into a creature who can be very astute at times, but also can be the biggest goddamn vagina, pussy. That's a drop of a hat, dude. We go from like, oh yes, and the Kelvin point temperature of this specific molecule is 79.386. 12. Give me some ass. Give me some vagina. Ah. I mean, that's why we're like that. That's why we're so schizo, man. Ass cheeseburger, ass cheeseburger, ass cheeseburger, you know? Titty steak, titty steak, titty steak, titty steak, titty steak. That's pretty much, you know, most guys, that's pretty much our 90% of our day through our head is just kind of titty steak, titty steak, titty steak, titty steak, ass, 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 titty steak, ass, 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 titty steak, 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 titties, ass, titty steak, steak, titties, ass, steak, beer. Most Britons, after studying the DNA of more than 2,000 men, researchers say they have compelling evidence that our 4 out of 5 white Europeans can trace their roots to the Near East. Yeah. I love it, man. Love how they come out with this stuff. You know, researchers have known that for years. Why is that breaking news? We've known that for the longest time. The final round of genetic manipulation that they did, when they were creating mankind, they created them from the ones that they gave the most of their DNA to. They gave little bits to the other races and different creatures and races and creeds that they made. But they took a white-skinned people out of the Caucasus Mountains region, and those are the ones that they gave the most amounts of their DNA, and those are the ones that became the demigods. And those are the ones that spread out and, started spreading their seed everywhere else. But it's just funny. Oh, they're acting like this is breaking news. And those of us that research have known this for a long time. Not breaking news to us. UK used spy rock against Russia. You know, people think stuff like this is only in the movies or only in James Bond or, but folks, this kind of stuff, this hidden stuff that's cameras. I mean, it's all over the place. It's been all over the place for a long time. It's not just in the movies. Where do you think they get that stuff in the movies? You think people just think they just, oh, they're so brilliant. They just pull that out of their imagination. No, man. Stuff in movies comes from stuff that's real. It always has. A former British official has admitted for the first time that Britain was responsible for a James Bond-style spy plot involving a fake rock in Moscow that contained electronic equipment. Russia accused British diplomats 6 years ago of using the bizarre scheme to send and receive electronic messages, a charge London had until now denied. But Jonathan Powell, chief of staff to then Prime Minister Tony Blair, told the BBC that Russia had used the incident to bring in a law to crack down on foreign non-governmental organizations. There's not much you can say. The spy rock was embarrassing, Powell said in a program to be broadcast by the BBC on Thursday. That's not even the tip of the iceberg, man. We've had bugs and listening devices and reconnaissance shit all over key places all over the world for decades. Give me a break. Only an idiot wouldn't know that. And, well, since most of us are idiots, most people don't know that. Let me see what else I have here tonight. February marks the beginning of the end, says which? Are we likely to see the horsemen of the apocalypse riding down Panah next month? Perhaps not, but a Cork witch, Cork, is this Cork, Ireland, I take it, says next week could be the beginning of the end times. The White Witch of Cobb, Helen Barrett, told the Cork Independent this week that while the 21st of December has long been established as the end of the world, Thursday, February the 2nd, will herald the start of a great war in the sky, predicted to end the planet's existence. A war in the sky. Huh? Is that when they're going to bust out the alien invasion scenario? February 2nd, Thursday, Friday. Let me pencil that in. I want to see some fucking holograms. I'm down. She said the answers of the universe and the fate of mankind in the next year were to be found in the Spanish decades writings of the 1700s and not the popular belief that the end of the world has been predicted by the Mayans. According to Helen, known as the White Witch of the Isles, Thursday, the 2nd of February, will see the beginning of the end in a concept shared by a number of ancient cultures across the globe. Someone, somewhere, told these ancient civilizations about the end of the world. A signal was sent out. By whom, you ask? One thought traveled across the globe at the same time. How else could these societies all reach the same conclusion at the same time? I'll refer you to Supocalypse on that one. Aliens! It was aliens! Look at my Bud Bundy hair! It was aliens! I fell asleep in the tanning bed! She said a cross could appear in the sky in the coming months, which will mark the beginning of a battle between good and evil. What? Oh, a cross appearing in the sky? What, you mean like that Project Bluebeam looking motherfucker they got down there in the Dominican Republic that was funded and paid for by the Knights of Malta? Oh, you didn't know about that? Yeah, well, they own that whole area. They're nuts deep in Knights of Malta down there in the Caribbean. But yeah, there's this big fucking gigantic cross-shaped structure in the Dominican Republic that was paid for by the Knights of Malta that is called the Pharaoh of Colon. Now, wouldn't it make sense that something that the Knights of Malta built would have to have the word colon in there somewhere? Fucking, it's all about the ass to these guys. What in the hell does a cross-shaped building have to do with a colon? I don't know, man, but these rump rangers will find some fucking way to get it in there. Again, no, please don't think I'm homophobic or dislike gay people or anything like that. I sure don't. But I have to call these hypocrites and these people that, make all this anti-gay legislation and go around, acting like they're all against and gay people shouldn't have any rights and they're subhuman to us and all this stuff, but yet they're going around fucking each other in the ass in the back hallway. So when you hear me refer to it and call them fags and stuff like that, please don't take offense if you are homosexual. I don't have anything against homosexual people at all, but I think these people that, parade around with their phony wife and gay people are subhuman, blah, blah, blah. And then, next thing you know, they're just fucking bam, bam, bam in the back room with whatever they can get. It's just a fact of matter, whether you're gay or straight or anything else, it's a fact of the matter is 98% of these guys at the highest levels are all pole smokers. It's a requisite. You have to be a fucking sausage boy in order to be able to even get anywhere. And, man, I mean, believe me, man, I'm a musician. I've heard it. I've known people who've had record deals. I've known people who've been in the big offices, talk to the big wigs with a cigar, I mean, if you're a chick, there are women who will ask you to perform oral on them. If you're a dude, there are dudes who will, ask you to perform oral. These motherfuckers don't care. And it's almost like from what the stories I've heard, it's almost like they don't even care about it. It's just like a demeaning thing they want to see you do. You know what I mean? They don't even want the sex or want it. It's like they just, I don't know. Every time I hear those stories, all I see is like Steven Tyler or like, Kid Rock or somebody like that coming in, getting on their knees and just, slobbing some fucking record company dude's cock and them coming and taking a picture of it and being like, all right, make sure you sell those records. Make sure you have the image we want you to. Otherwise, See this? Yeah, that's going to be on your Facebook profile page. Got that? Yeah. Picture you slobbing the fucking big record guy's cock. Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's 2012. I expect there to be a date for when the real end of the world is supposed to happen. I expect we'll see one of those probably 70 to 80% of every day and week of this year. So eventually, and that's pretty much the way it is right now, some point in this year, whether it's December 21st or February 2nd, some point this year, the world's going to end. So go ahead and be in fear of that. Go ahead and manifest that. Go ahead and focus on that. Go ahead and just become okay with it. Because even though we can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, just trust us, the end of the world's coming. I don't buy that for a second. And if it does come, it'll come as a result of the fact that we caused it. And we manifested it because we allowed ourselves to believe their bullshit. And the power of the human mind and the power of manifestation and the power of bringing material reality into existence using our spoken word and our minds and our energy is very real. So if the apocalypse does come in 2012, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the New World Order's fault. It's not the elite's fault. It will be our fault because we allowed ourselves to buy into their horseshit. And if that's what ends up happening, that's what ends up happening. But brother, I'm going to be able to go on to my next plane of existence, knowing that at least I tried to tell people that that's what was happening, whether they listened or not. So, that's how I sleep at night. Oh, I'm already tired of the news, and there's so much of it today. I didn't do a show yesterday because there wasn't any material. And today there's so much, I'm already tired of it. But I'm going to soldier on through this. British pharmacy chain announces rollout of new smart pills loaded with a microchip. And I believe these are for animals, though. These are not for humans. I think I've seen this article regurgitated a few times. I think they rolled these out for animals, not for humans. But it seems that people are trying to claim these are now being, either way. Look, man, you're crazy. You're crazy if you take their pharmaceutical drugs. You're crazy if you take their shots, their injections, their pharmaceutical drugs. You don't need it. Everything you need to heal yourself can be found naturally here on Earth. And they'll scare you and they'll tell you everything under the sun, folks. You know, that if you don't take their medicine, you don't pay $10,000 for their chemo, you're going to die. And they just milk your insurance money out and they just take it and they shoot you full of that stuff and you pay them to kill you. So, I just really have no ability to hype this article and try to freak out. And I'm sure there's probably been 100 shows by now that people have been ranting and raving, screaming about these microchips and these pharmaceutical things and all this stuff. Really, are you really that shocked? You're out of your goddamn mind if you touch anything that this medical industrial complex puts out. Seriously. That stuff is poison and it is designed to kill you or to keep you alive long enough to be able to milk more money out of you, one or the other. Long life intelligence in the genes. This is from Kurzweil, artificial intelligence transhumanist website of Ray Kurzweil. Which actually comes from the article actually was linked from Nature News. A Scottish study of intelligence that began 80 years ago has now found that genetic variants accounted for nearly 1/4 of the difference in cognitive stability, how well intelligence is maintained over time by the study's surviving participants. Research psychologist Ian Deary of the University of Edinburgh and colleagues tracked down the original participants, collected DNA samples, and performed fresh intelligence tests on nearly 2,000 of the original participants, then age 65 or older. Deary and his team tested the DNA samples for the presence of more than 500,000 common genetic variants, each affecting only a single letter in the DNA sequence of the genome. The team then calculated whether these variants were associated with cognitive stability. The sample size of 2,000 people was too small to grant the statistical power needed to track down individual genetic signatures associated with cognitive ability, but it was enough to estimate how much genetics contributes to cognitive aging. The team found that these variants accounted for nearly 1/4 of the difference in cognitive stability. However, the genetic factors can also be interacting with the environment, making a person more or less susceptible to environmental effects on intelligence, says Yakov Stern, a neurophysiologist at the Columbia University Medical Center in New York. And that's another thing. You know, they've started to find more things as they've delved more into the DNA. They've started to find a lot of things that they're not telling us. And the reason is because a lot of those things that they now know about DNA would turn up the foundations of both science and religion on their head. But I believe that eventually that's what they want. I think they're also gearing towards that. They do want to turn the foundations of science and religion on their head so they can merge the two into their one world government, one world religion, rather, system. So that's what I think a lot of these new things are allowing to come out are really about. They're allowing scientific discoveries and they're allowing these big breakthroughs to come out now more than they used to. I think that's why the whole God particle thing has gotten so much attention, is because now they're trying to cause that upheaval. And you know, hey, I tell you what, how about this? I would never offer help to the bad guys, but I'm going to offer help to the bad guys right now. How about this, bad guys? You want me to help you turn science and religion on its head? Tell you how you can do that. There's some property. Let me see how my buddy sent me this. It was kind of a joke. He was joking around, but I'm joking around here too, but I'm also being kind of serious. So, let me find it. My buddy sent me this and he said, hey man, I found 322 acres for sale in Rockwall County. You got $4 million. 322 acres in Rockwall for $4 million. Yeah. So, okay. You want me to help you out there? How about this? You want to turn science and religion on its head? How much you give me a bunch of money and allow me to go out and do some digging on the rock wall and dig up some stuff and give me a couple million for a dig, and I'll turn science and religion on its head for you, no problem. Normally, I would never offer my services to these fuckers, but yeah, give me a couple million. That's all. I mean, you guys got trillions, zillions. A couple million out of the bank to fund a dig for me is not gonna do much. Yeah, well, that's what it would do. And that's it. And hell, you never know. Before it's over with, if these guys really do want to do that, you never know. You may see that shit come out yet, too. You just never know. What else do we have? Oh, man. A lot of this other stuff's not really that interesting. It's funny. I have so many stories that I gather for the show, and then when I get to the show, I'm like, I don't want to talk about that, or that's not it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like when I'm not doing the show, that it like, okay, this article seemed like a good idea, and I get up here live, start talking about stuff. I'm like, why did I even think that would be a good article to cover? It's retarded. I shouldn't cover that. A chemical widely used as preservative in cosmetics, food products, and pharmaceuticals has been found in tissue samples from 40 women with breast cancer. And this comes to us from the Daily Mail, an article entitled "Chemical Found in Deodorants, Face Cream, and Food Products is Discovered in Tumors of All Breast Cancer Patients." And yeah, they're putting poisons and all the stuff that you know, are hygiene products and all this stuff, folks. Aluminums and everything. A number of studies since 1998 have raised concerns about the potential role of these parabens in breast cancer as they possess oestrogenic properties. Oestrogen is known to play a central role in the development and growth progression of breast cancer. Parabens are a chemical compound found in everyday toiletry products, including moisturizers, makeup, shaving foam, tanning lotions, and toothpaste. They are also found in numerous brands of underarm deodorant. However, a causal link has never been found between them and breast cancer. They are present in processed meats such as sausages, pies, and pastries, along with other savory snacks. The research team, led by Dr. Philippa Darbe at the University of Reading, studied tissue samples from 40 women undergoing mastectomies between 2005 and 2008 for their first primary breast cancer in England. In total, 160 samples were collected, 4 from each woman, and found that 99% of the tissue samples contained at least 1 paraben, and 60% of the samples had 5. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. They're just pumping us. And we wonder why we get sick and die. And it is, and you know, it is because of our own ignorance, folks. That's the only reason. Or our just, you know, a lack of care. Because I mean, I've told people about these things before for years and seen it fall on deaf ears, you know. I don't know. I guess I just think about my dad, and I think about lots of things that I told him, warned him about, and he didn't listen to me about it. And then, you know, but it's just, if you need more proof that they're pumping poisons to kill us in every single thing that we ingest, folks, I mean, and I understand that, you know, it's kind of, I kind of have the same attitude. It's like, fuck it, you know, it's kind of hard to avoid it, and it is, but that still doesn't change the fact that if we knew more about it, if we had more aware, if it was more accepted. I mean, you tell people stuff like this. I mean, this is a mainstream news article, folks. But if you bring this kind of thing up in a conversation with people, they think you're nuts. They think you're crazy. There's no way they would put a chemical in any over-the-counter things in food and in you know, hygiene products that would give 99% of the people that put it in their body cancer. There's no way they would do that. They would get caught and they would be in jail. That's not how it works. That's a fantasy land version of reality. People always say, oh, there's no way they do that. They can't get away with that. They'd get caught. They'd be in prison. It's against the law. You really think that's how it works? You really think that everything and everybody out there that does illegal stuff, especially at the big levels like we're talking about here? I tell you what, my movie pick of the week, I haven't had these in a while, but my movie pick of the week, get a chance to watch a movie, a new movie that's out right now. It's called Puncture. Check that movie out. It's got the guy that played Captain America in it. And it's based on a true story. And it's a fantastic movie because it shows so many real things in this movie. It's about a guy who, these two guys who own this law firm in Houston. It's all based on a true story. And they get this case with this woman who got AIDS from getting accidentally poked with a needle in the hospital. She was a nurse. And they find out that there's this guy that makes these safety needles that can only be used once, and the tip breaks off. They're called safety needles. And so people don't get poked. And over 1 million people get poked a year and get these diseases. And the reason that these needles are not being distributed, they start uncovering this, massive conspiracy, is because all of the, the pharmaceutical companies have made these contracts to where the hospitals can't buy those needles even if they want to. And meanwhile, while this guy's researching this, he's completely jacked up on heroin and completely jacked up on all these drugs. And there's a lot of things in there that they show that you'll be paying attention to. If you already know about this information, it's the same kind of thing. People in that movie, why would this guy, couldn't wrap his mind around why, oh my God, why would they allow 1 million people a year to get these diseases when they have, a cure for that right here with these safety needles that would stop that overnight, but they won't allow them to be there? And, you see these people in this movie, trying to wrap their minds around that, and people try to they can't wrap their minds around that. Hello? They make more money off people getting sick. The more people get sick, the better, especially when it comes to those kind of diseases. And it's our own, unwillingness because of our program to believe that anything that nefarious would go on in our world when it goes on every day. Crazy, crazy stuff. Well, I'm going to take a break, come back, and may hit a few more news stories tonight. We may not. I don't really know. And then after we get back, we will get into The End of Days by Zachariah Sitchin as well for you here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We're having our 2012 kickoff fundraiser right now. It's going to be going on next week and then a couple more days into the week after that. And we've got to meet that goal this month, folks, so we can continue to pay the bills and get our work done here into 2012. We hope that you'll help us. Go make a secure donation today at TheGlobalReality.com using the chipping banner if you want to donate a grant or a bigger amount to us to go towards our films and our next film, the research into these ancient societies. You can use the donate button there for that. You can make a subscription. We're working on getting the P.O. Box thing back up for you real soon as well. Just hold off from using that for right now. But however you can help us out, please do so. TheGlobalReality.com. And we keep it commercial free and uncensored here. All right, back here with you on the show. Global Reality Late Night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. So glad you'll be with us here again tonight for another late night show. And let's see, might have a couple more news items here to get into tonight. And then we're going to be getting into the End of Days by Zachariah Sitchin. And again, thanks for being here with us. My website, TheGlobalReality.com. It's TheGlobalReality.com. And 2 years in the making, my newest film, Secret Volume 2, it's finally out. If you're a new listener or you're somebody who's listening who hasn't listened for a while, you remember that film I've been working on for a long time? Well, guess what? It's finally done. It is not out online for free right now. And so don't even go bother and look. But you can get a DVD and a Blu-ray from us right now. And those are available at my website, TheGlobalReality.com. And those prices include shipping and handling. So the prices, what you see, no surprise charges or anything like that. The prices that are posted is what it is. I hate that. Don't you hate that? I hate that. I hate when I go try to order something for somebody. It's already $20. And then by the time you get raped by fees, it's like, fuck, I just paid $35 for that DVD. Well, my prices are what you get. You see what you see is what you get. And that includes international shipping. I'll ship it anywhere in the world to you. So there you go. That was the biggest. I think I've talked about this before, but I think that was kind of the biggest thing for me this go around is how many outside of the United States orders we had this time. Blown away by that. Thank you so much to everybody out there. And yeah, I understand that it may not seem like a big deal to ship one DVD to Latvia or one DVD to Austria or one DVD to, the Netherlands or wherever, but it is a big deal to me because, the fact that there are people listening in places of the world that are, I've never been to all over the place is just an amazing thing. And I'm glad that, there are people all over the world who understand that, this is not something that's just compartmentalized to one particular country or area of the world. It's something that affects us all. And that, to me, was something that I always felt was missing. It always seemed like everything I listened to was about, folks, they're killing this country, this country, this country, this country. And it's like, it's kind of like I was saying about Jones earlier with the whole, religion thing and stuff like that. I mean, take a look around you, dude. Are you really somebody who's that much of a researcher thinks that this is only going on or compartmentalized in the United States of America? That's just flat wrong. And so we need people that are going to stand up and speak the truth for all people, not just for, the population of right-wing Christian conservative gun owners and constitutionalists. They want you to think that, if you don't fall into that category of being, a paleo-conservative, right-wing, gun-owning Christian constitutionalist, that somehow either you don't matter or you just don't have your facts straight. That's unbelievable how far that brainwashing is. But this is about all people. And so, you know, when you get these people like Alex Jones and others who are only representing or only talking to, you know, a small subset, I mean, that right there to let you know that they're a representation of one small group. And I don't know if your research differs from mine, but for what my 15 plus years of research shows me is that this is a global, worldwide conspiracy that touches the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet. So that's who I want to reach. I don't, you know, I don't give a shit about reaching the right-wing Christian conservative gun-owning, paleo-conservative constitutionalists. But you know what? They like me too, surprisingly enough. And I welcome and love those people as much as anybody else, because those people, I have had those type of people who have found my show and not, and, you know, have gotten out of that mindset and become, you know, independent free thinkers again. And boy, that's amazing. I mean, I've been contacted by people from all walks of life. And that's another thing I love is the fact that we have, you know, listeners of all race, colors, creeds, backgrounds, nationalities. I mean, you know, look, I mean, don't let the fact that I'm white turn you off. You know, I'm not, it's just so funny. I just can't believe the hatred. I see some of the stuff that's leveled at me because, I won't get on board with these pro-white. And I'm not anti-white either, but I don't have white guilt or anything like that. So I don't subscribe to that. That's horseshit too. Don't think I'm going to be on board with that stuff. Fuck that. That's just as much of an operation as anything else. White guilt. I mean, there was, you know, there's been classes. I mean, people somehow think that everybody back in the days of the slave owning days were all white aristocrats. That there weren't any poor white trash back then. Yeah, there sure as fuck was. There always has been. But you know, I the problem is that everything is designed to get us divided against each other so that we never come together against them. And if there's one thing that history does show for sure, that's the fact that people that are unifiers or attempt to be unifiers of the people like me don't get a lot of play. And you know, I could be swimming in cash, dude. I mean, I've got talent in a voice and an ability to be able to do radio and make films. Man, I could sell out in a heartbeat if I wanted to. I could go and be on a TV show or a radio show or something and just forget about all this stuff and be making bukus of cash. No problem. But why would that goes against everything I ever wanted out of my life or wanted to do. That's not what I want to do. But when you decide that you want to be a unifier, not a divider, well, at that point, you have to be ready for it to come at you from all angles. Because that's the one thing they don't want. They want to keep us good and divided and separated and you know, wanting to tear each other apart. So we never go after who we should be going after. And well, if I have any say in it, that's going to change. So there you go. Oh, let's see. Yeah, this news stuff's pretty worthless to me tonight, to be honest with you. So let me pull out my reading material here. Give me just a second. Get to where that is. Where are you? There it is. All right. Where did we leave off last time? All right. Here we go. All right. Getting back into The End of Days by Zechariah Sitchin. We're in chapter. Wait a minute. I think I already read that. We're supposed to be starting a new chapter, I thought. Did I already start that new chapter? Yeah, I did. I forgot about that. Give me just a second to get back to where I was. There it is. All right. Nabu was thus the godson and an Adam son of ancient scriptures, the one whose very name meant prophet. As in the Egyptian prophecies earlier quoted, his name and role became linked to the messianic expectations. And so it was in the days before the deluge that Marduk set an example to the other young unespoused gods. Find and marry an earthling female. The breach of the taboo appealed in particular to the Agigi gods, who were away on Mars most of the time, with their principal station on Earth being the landing place in the Cedar Mountains. Finding an opportunity, perhaps an invitation to come and celebrate Marduk's wedding, they seized earthling females and carried them off as wives. Several extra-biblical books designated the Apocrypha, such as the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Noah, record the incident of the intermarriage by the Nephilim and fill in the details. Some 200 watchers, those who observe and see, organized themselves in 20 groups. Each had a named leader. One called Shamyaza was in overall command. The instigator of the transgression, the one who led astray the sons of God and brought them down to earth and led them astray through the daughters of man, was named Yaquan. It happened, these sources confirm, during the time of Enoch. In spite of their efforts to fill the Sumerian sources that told of rival and contradicting Enlil and Enki into a monotheistic framework, the belief in only one almighty God, the compilers of the Hebrew Bible ended that section in chapter 6 of Genesis with a recognition of the factual outcome. Speaking of the offspring of those intermarriages, the Bible makes two admissions. The first, that the intermarrying took place in the days before the deluge, and thereafter too. And secondly, that from the offspring came the heroes of old, the men of renown. The Sumerian texts indicate that post-diluvial heroic kings were indeed such demigods. But they were the offspring not only of Enki and his clan. Sometimes kings in the Enlilite region were sons of Enlilite gods. For example, the Sumerian king lists clearly state that when kingship began in Uruk, which was an Enlilite domain, the one chosen for kingship was Mesh, a demigod. Meshikashkar, a son of Utu, became high priest and king. Utu was, of course, the god Utu Shamash, grandson of Enlil. Further down the dynastic line, there was the famed Gilgamesh, two-thirds of him divine, son of the Enlilite goddess Ninsun, and fathered by the high priest of Uruk, an earthling. There were several more rulers down the line, both in Uruk and in Ur, who bore the title Mesh or Mes. In Egypt, too, some pharaohs claimed divine parentage. Many in the 18th and 19th dynasties adopted theophoric names with a prefix or suffix meaning issue of this or that god, such as the names of Ames or Ramses, Ramses. Oh, I see. So the first part of that name represents that they are, basically a precinct of that particular god. The famed Queen Hatshepsut, who, though a female, sees the title and privileges of a pharaoh, claimed that right by virtue of being a demigod. The great god Amun, she claimed in inscriptions and depictions in her immense temple at Deir el-Bahari, took the form of His Majesty the King. The husband of her queen mother had intercourse with her and caused Hatshepsut to be born as his semi-divine daughter. Canaanite texts include the tale of Keret, a king who was son of the god of El. An interesting variant on such demigod as king practices was the case of Inanna-Tatum. How do you say that? Ian-Natum? Iana-Adam. Okay. A Sumerian king in Ninurta's Lagash during the early heroic times. An inscription by the king on a well-known monument of his Stela of the Vultures attributes his demigod status to artificial insemination by Ninurta, the lord of the Gershu, the sacred precinct, and to help form Inanna, Ishtar, and Ninmah, here called by her epitaph Ninarshek. The lord Ningershu, warrior of Enlil, implanted the semen of Enlil for Inannatum in the womb of blank. Oh, they don't tell us who he put it in the womb of. That's interesting. Inanna accompanied him with his birth and named him worthy in the Eanna temple and set him on the sacred lap of Ninarshek. Ninarshek offered him her sacred breast. Ningershu rejoiced over Inannatum and semen implanted in her in the womb by Ningershu. I mean, it's every other term there. I mean, you wonder why people think that we were seeded by these people from these texts when in every other goddamn word it's fucking somebody's pouring somebody's semen into somebody or implanting it in there. I mean, really, our whole history, I mean, it's like they should just have a big book that just says fucking the end. While the reference to the semen of Enlil leaves unclear whether Ninurta Ningershu's own semen is here considered the semen of Enlil because he was Enlil's firstborn, or actually used semen of Enlil for the insemination, which is doubtful. The inscription clearly claims that Eannatum's mother, whose name is illegible on the stela, was artificially impregnated so that a demigod was conceived without actual sexual intercourse. A case of immaculate conception in 3rd millennium BCE Sumer. Yeah, well, again, what do you think Jesus was? That's why, I mean, these were advanced people. We're supposed to think in biblical times that, yes, the regular people like us weren't advanced, but I mean, my God, they caused the birth of Jesus through their artificial insemination programs and caused this to be able to create the foundations for their control and religion permanently. That the gods were no strangers to artificial insemination is corroborated by Egyptian texts, according to which, after Seth killed and dismembered Osiris, the god Thoth extracted semen from the phallus of Osiris and impregnated with it the wife of Osiris, Isis, bringing about the birth of the god Horus. A depiction of the feat shows Thoth and birth goddess holding the 2 strands of DNA that were used, and Isis holding the newborn Horus. Clearly, then, after the deluge, the Enlilites, too, accepted both the mating with the earthling females and considered the offspring heroes and men of renown, suitable for kingship. Royal bloodlines of demigods were thus begun, and those, of course, are the bloodlines that exist in positions of power to this day. They've never ended. Why do you think you have a place like Washington, D.C., just the whole thing's just littered with Egyptian and these old type of iconography? One of the first tasks of Ur-Nammu was to carry out a moral and religious revival, and for that, too, a former revered and remembered king was emulated. It was done through the promulgation of a new code of laws. Laws of moral behavior, laws of justice, of adherence. The code said to the laws that Enlil and Nannar and Shamash had wanted the king to enforce and the people to live by. The nature of the laws, a list of do's and don'ts, can be judged by Ur-Nammu's claim that due to those laws of justice, the orphan did not fall prey to the wealthy, the widow did not fall prey to the powerful. The man with 1 sheep was not delivered to the man with 1 ox. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what you think. You hadn't seen our world. Look at our world, all those things happen all the time, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Justice was established in the land. In that he emulated, sometimes using the exact same phrases as a previous Sumerian king, Uraka-Gina of Lagash, who 300 years earlier had promulgated a law code by which social, legal, and religious reforms were instituted, among them the establishment of women's safe houses under the patronage of the goddess Bao, Ninurta's spouse. These, it ought to be pointed out, were the very same principles of justice and morality that the biblical prophets demanded of kings and people in the next millennium. As the era of III began, there was obviously a deliberate attempt to return Sumer, now Sumer and Akkad, to its old days of glory, prosperity, and morality and peace, the times that preceded the latest confrontation with Marduk. The inscriptions, the monuments, and the archaeological evidence attest that Ur-Nammu's reign, which began in 2113 BCE, witnessed extensive public works, restoration of river navigation, and the rebuilding and protection of the country's highways. He made the highways run from the lower lands to the upper lands, an inscription stated. Greater trade and commerce followed. There was a surge in arts, crafts, schools, and other improvements in social and economic life, including the introduction of more accurate weights and measures. Treaties with neighboring rulers to the east and northeast spread the prosperity and well-being. The great gods, especially Enlil and Ninlil, were honored with renovated and magnified temples. And for the first time in Sumer's history, the priesthood of Ur was combined with that of Nippur, leading a religious revival. All the scholars agree that in virtually every way, the Ur III period begun by Ur-Nammu attained new heights in the Sumerian civilization. That conclusion only increased the puzzlement caused by a beautifully crafted box that was uncovered by archaeologists. Its inlaid panels, front and back, depicted two contradicting scenes of life in Ur. While one of the panels, now known as the Peace Panel, depicted banqueting, commerce, and other scenes of civil activities, the other, the War Panel, depicted a military column of armed and helmeted soldiers in horse-drawn chariots marching to war. A close examination of the records from that time reveals that indeed, while under the leadership of Ur-Nammu, Sumer itself flourished. The hostility of the Inalites by the rebel hands increased rather than diminished. The situation apparently demanded action, for according to Ur-Nammu's inscriptions, Enlil gave him a divine weapon that heaps up the rebels in piles, with which to attack the hostile lands, destroy the evil cities, and clear them of opposition. Yeah, that's a nuke. Those rebel lands and sinning cities were west of Sumer, the lands of Marduk's Amorite followers. There, the evil and the hostility against Enlil was fanned by Nabu, who moved about from city to city proselytizing for Marduk. Enlilite records called him the oppressor, of whose influence the sinning cities had to be rid. There is reason to believe that the peace and war panels actually depicted Ur-Nammu himself, one showing him banqueting and celebrating peace and prosperity, the other in the royal chariot, leading his army to war. His military expeditions took him well beyond Sumer's borders into the western lands. But Ur-Nammu, great reformer, builder, and economic shepherd that he was, failed as a military leader. In the midst of battle, his chariot got stuck in the mud. Ur-Nammu fell off of it, but the chariot, like a storm, rushed along, leaving the king behind, abandoned like a crushed jug. The tragedy was compounded when the boat returning Ur-Nammu's body to Sumer had sunk in an unknown place, and the waves sank it down with him on board. That dude was just born fucked, sounds like to me. Good God. When news of the defeat and the tragic death of Ur-Nammu reached Ur, a great lament went up there. The people could not understand how such a religiously devout king, a righteous shepherd who only followed the gods' directives with weapons they put in his hands, could perish so ignominiously. Why did the Lord Danar not hold him by the hand, they asked. Why did Inanna, Lady of Heaven, not put her noble arm around his head? Why did the valiant Utu not assist him? The Sumerians, who believed that all that happens had been fated, wondered, why did these gods step aside when Ur-Nammu's bitter fate was decided? Surely those gods, Nanur and his twin children, knew what Anu and Enlil were determining. Yet they said nothing to protect Ur-Nammu. There could be only one plausible explanation. The people of Ur and Sumer concluded as they cried out and lamented, the great gods must have gone back on their word. How the fate of the hero had been changed. Anu altered his holy word. Enlil deceitfully changed his decree. So now we're starting to see a shift, a schism between the gods and the humans. And I suspect this is where a lot of this, I think this is probably where, and maybe we'll find that out in this book. That's my intent on reading this book. But I have a feeling that's where Sitchin and others have pulled this, return to the Anunnaki stuff from. I think that they believe from these texts that, they're going to come back and there's going to be that schism between man again and blah, blah, blah. But, I flatly just don't agree with that because, well, I mean, as we've been reading here, I mean, the stuff we've read here tonight and in other readings that we've done, the people that are in charge to this day are the proxies of these people. So, I really don't see how it would be any different. Well, they're going to come down here. It sounds to me like they're running the show. I mean, these are the bloodlines, right? They're running the show the same way the people that are running the show are now. They're just their underlings. Management hasn't been in the building for several thousand years, and I guess they're saying that, I guess eventually management's going to return and take over the show themselves. I don't believe that, but who knows? I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. I could be completely wrong, but, I don't know. Maybe the land will flow with the blood of the unbelievers. These are strong words accusing the great Inalite gods of deceit and double crossing. The ancient words convey the extent of the people's disappointment. If that was so in Samir and Akkad, one can imagine the reaction in the rebellious Western lands. In the struggle for the hearts and minds of mankind, the Inalites were faltering. Nabu, the spokesman, intensified the campaign on behalf of his father Marduk. His own status was enhanced and changed. His own divinity was now glorified by a variety of venerating epitaphs. Inspired by Nabu, the Nabi, the prophet, prophecies of the future of what is about to happen began to sweep the contested lands. We know what they said because a number of clay tablets on which such prophecies were inscribed have been found. Written in old Babylonian cuneiform, they are grouped by scholars as Akkadian prophecies or Akkadian apocalypses. Common to all of them is the view that the past, present, and future are parts of a continuous flow of events. That within a preordained destiny, there is some room for free will and thus a variated fate. That for mankind, both were decreed or determined by the gods of heaven and earth, and that therefore events on earth reflect occurrences in the heavens. To grant the prophecy's believability, the text sometimes anchored the prediction of future events in a known past historic occurrence or entity. What is wrong in the present, why change is needed, is then recounted. The unfolding events are attributed to decisions by one or more of the great gods. A divine emissary, a herald, will appear. The prophetic text might be his words, written down by the scribe, or expected pronouncements. As often as not, a son will speak for his father. The predicted events will be linked to omens. The death of a king or heavenly signs. A celestial body will appear and make a frightful sound. A burning fire will come from the skies. A star shall flash from the height of the sky to the horizon as a torch. And most significantly, a planet will appear before its time. Bad things, apocalypse, shall precede the final event. There would be calamitous rains, huge devastating waves or droughts. The silting of canals, locusts, and famines. Mother will turn against daughter, neighbor against neighbor, rebellion, chaos, calamities will occur in the lands. Cities will be attacked and depopulated, dogs and cats living together. No, I'm kidding. Kings will die, be toppled and captured. One throne will overthrow another. Right, well, that's what their official historical record says happened on their planet. So they fucked everything up on their planet and came down here and set up shop and fucked everything up, created us, and made us live in a fucked up world. That's nice of them. They don't want to be the only sods in the universe living in a fucked up ass, retarded world. Well, thank you. We want other people to live in a fucked up ass, retarded world too. Officials and priests will be killed, temples will be abandoned, rites and offerings will cease. And then the predicted event, a great change, a new era, a new leader, a redeemer will come. Good will prevail over evil, prosperity will replace sufferings, abandoned cities will be resettled, the remnants of the dispersed people will return to their homes, temples will be restored, and the people will perform the correct religious rites. Not unexpectedly, these Babylonian or pro-Marduk prophecies pointed the accusing finger of wrongdoing at Samir and Akkad, and also their allies, Elam, Hadaland, and the Sea Lands, and named the Amaru Westerners as the instrument of divine retribution. The Enlilite cult centers, Nippur, Uruk, Larsa, Lagash, Separ, and Adab, are named. They will be attacked, plundered, their temples abandoned. The Enlilite gods are described as confused, unable to sleep. Enlil is calling out to Anu, but ignores Anu's advice. That Enlil issues a Misharu, an edict, of putting things straight order. Enlil, Ishtar, and Adad will be forced to change kingship in Samir and Akkad. The sacred rites will be transferred out of Nippur. Celestially, the great planet will appear in the constellation of the Ram. The word of Marduk shall prevail. He will subdue the four regions. The whole earth shall tremble at the mention of his name. After him, his sons will reign as king and will become master of the whole earth. In some of the prophecies, certain deities are the subject of specific predictions. A king will arise, one text prophesied in regard to Inanna Ishtar. He will remove the protective goddess of Uruk from Uruk and will make her dwell in Babylon. He will establish the rites of Anu in Uruk. The Agigi are also specifically mentioned. The regular offerings for the Agigi gods which had ceased will be reestablished, one prophecy states. As was the case with the Egyptian prophecies, most scholars also treat the Akkadian prophecies as pseudo-prophecies or post-eventum texts. That they were, in fact, written long after the predicted events. But as we have remarked in regards to the Egyptian text, to say that the events were not prophesied because they had already happened is only to reassert that the events per se did happen, whether or not they were predicted. And that is what matters most to us. It means that the prophecies did come true. And if so, most chilling is the prediction in a text known as Prophecy B. The awesome weapon of Era upon the lands of the people will come in judgment. A most chilling prophecy indeed, for before the 21st century BCE was over, judgment upon the lands and peoples occurred when the god Era, the Annihilator, an epitaph for Nergal, unleashed nuclear weapons in a cataclysm that made prophecies come true. So that's the end of chapter 4. The next chapter is chapter 5, Countdown to Doomsday, and we'll get into that next time. I want to comment on that. The interesting thing about this, and again, this is why I'm reading this, not because I agree with it, but and I found so many real strange, unexplained things in here that I wonder where he's pulling this stuff from. Basically, what Zachariah Sitchin is saying here is that he's making a comparison to the time period of now as it was BCE, and basically he's saying that since during this time there was a great cataclysm and nuclear war and all these areas were destroyed, that's where we're heading to, and that's the prophecy, and that's going to be coming, all this stuff. And you know what, it very well may be. But I mean, the thing about it is that the people that control events, it's hard, I want to disagree with that. I want to say that he's wrong about that, and that, that same thing isn't going to happen and blah, blah, couldn't happen. But because that was what I was about to say, but I really am going to go ahead and take that back, because while I'm not saying it's absolutely a foregone conclusion that's going to happen, I think it's definitely something to keep in mind. And I definitely see why he's pointing that out. It's because, look, the people that control the show now are as aware of what we're talking about here as you and I are. And it does seem that they are causing world events and steering things to happen so they can make this prophecy be fulfilled. And I do see that in these, right-wing Christian conservative CMP nutters that I've exposed. They want to bring about this. That's why they're trying to bring this the world into civil war and bring the United States into civil war and divide us between each other. And that's why it's all the more reason to expose them. And to continue exposing all of this information. But writing this stuff off and writing off what these ancient texts talk about is not a smart move, folks, because these guys at the highest levels are fully aware of this stuff. And it's time that we become fully aware of as many of the same things as we can that they are. That's the only way we're ever going to be able to have a seat at the table to even try to make the game even and have a fighting chance at this. Information is key, knowledge is key, and that's why we have to continue to push forward for that personal knowledge, because that is where the true power in this world comes from. So help me continue to use that power and spread the word and try to get information out to people, folks. We need everybody who can do something doing something. And if all you can do is, support what I do and support my work, then hey, please do that. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. And we have the chip and banner and the donate button there, and you can support our work. Please support our work if you can. Help us meet our goal this month and push forward in 2012. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. You guys have a great one. Take care.